So, good afternoon, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Fabrizio Didonna, who came to our city, Granada, to give a talk in the 12th National Convention for OECD. Thank you very much for giving us this time for this interview. And Fabrizio was in Granada over a month ago to teach his training program, Mbct, for OECD, and it was a real pleasure as well to be part of this course, and it was very, very enriching. So let me introduce him. Fabrizio Didonna is an expert clinical psychologist and is a specialist in the treatment of OECD. He has been working with OECD-affected people for over 20 years and has created a treatment program that runs currently in an OECD unit in a private center in Vicenza, Italy, and has developed a training teaching based on his treatment approach. His latest book, Mbct for OECD, is a comprehensive manual for the treatment of this disorder. Fabrizio has been teaching his training program in Granada, I already told you, which, as I said, has been a very enriching experience. So, Fabrizio, I would like to ask you when and how you became involved in the treatment for OECD.
Well, I think that one of the first reason because I was involved in OECD is that I've been involved in a clinical research about OCD, about some specific phenomenological aspects of OCD when I was a student in a school of psychotherapy in Italy. But probably the most important reason is that my first patient in my clinical career was a patient affected by OCD. And this was a very, very short therapy because in a few sessions he improved so much. So probably I have the magical thought that I was very effective with OCD. So that was, maybe I'm not so bad with OCD, maybe I could try again.
Interesting experience, but you know that helped you to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you found it more challenging later.
Yeah, and then I have the opportunity to be invited to stay for some period for a stage at the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Oxford, where there was a famous expert in treatment of OCD, the CBT for OCD, and there I learned in the best way how to use CBT for OCD, and I was really impressed for this kind of treatment, and I found this disorder very, very interesting and stimulating for me.
And it's been now many, many years, and you are still dedicated to help these people. So
yeah,
many
years
for it.
Yeah, and I had the chance to find several ways to improve my effectiveness and the effectiveness of, in particular, CBT, because I started to work in particular in a private hospital where I've been worked for more than 20 years, and I started to work with very severe OCD patients, and there I wondered what I can do more to help people that weren't able to improve so much with the standard CBT.
Well, this is very important, because often those people who are not responding to the conventional treatment feel very, very helpless. So this is very important.
Yeah, we know that more than 50% of people who try to attend a CBT do not improve or tend to relapse at follow-up. So I wondered in many years how we can empower and improve more the standard CBT with the new tools, with new approaches in order to increase the rate of improvement in this kind of disorder.
And I understand that was a reason for you to develop your own program methodology, which it would be very interesting to hear how you developed this program and what are the main aims of this program.
Yeah, that's the main reason, because at the end of 19, I started to meditate by myself, for myself, and then I started to introduce meditation in my clinical work, in particular in the private hospital with severe patients, and I realized that meditation was effective, very effective also with people affected by severe disorders. So not only OCD, but also people affected by depression or borderline personality disorders, or people with trauma. I started to lead a group, mindfulness group, with all these kind of patients, and I found that they were able to accept this kind of treatment and also to find relief from it, regardless of the disorder.
And what do you think, if meditation, introducing meditation to these people with different several disorders was so helpful, what would you say that it was the skills that mindfulness or meditation could bring to those people that the conventional treatment were not given them?
Yeah, well, I think that this is because with mindfulness we help people to use some natural attitudes that are common in all human beings and that are very helpful to overcome any kind of suffering. So, for example, acceptance, the attitude of accepting our internal experience, that is totally harmless, but that most people, most humans tend to live as dangers or are threats. And so helping people to normalize their relationship with internal states is one of the most powerful things that you can do to help people with a severe form of suffering to relieve from their problem.
I would like to comment as a yoga meditation teacher for many years myself that what has always interested me is how these traditions explain suffering, so how they go to the cause of suffering. So would you say that behind any disorder, there's always this general mental suffering? It doesn't have to be that you are diagnosed with a disorder, but how important it is in our lives to look at the causes of suffering, not only at the symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. As I told this morning in my conference, human brain is the most complex and powerful but also helpful tool that human evolution has created in over 3 million years. But the big problem for human beings is that no one teaches us how to use in the best way, in a useful way, this complex tool in order to create well-being. And the result is that we activate and develop several forms of suffering in our life. And some form of suffering are really enduring and intense. And this way we call them psychological disorders.
Sustained suffering.
Yes, but it is just a form of suffering, a form of intense and enduring suffering that is created by our tendency to use our mind in a bad way. So mindfulness is a way to timing the mind, to train the mind in order to use the mind for our benefit and not against us. And this is something that we have to teach to the children when they are very young, not only as an adult, but of course we can do that also as an adult.
It's interesting to see how mindfulness is being introduced now in some schools in some countries, because as you said, you have to teach it when we're children, otherwise there is a lot of things to improve and change and correct. Our education is focused on doing things, but not in becoming or being. So this is very interesting. I think with time the things are going to improve and they're going to be taken into consideration more and more. And could you comment on what are the commitments that are required from people affected by OCD in order to take your treatment program?
Yeah. Mbct for OCD program can be effective if there is an important commitment in the people affected by OCD. And the commitment is in particular in be available to practice the mindfulness exercise for a certain time every day. So why they have to do that? Because as I told always in my trainings, OCD is a form of mental habits that people develop over the years, very often from the childhood. And this kind of mental habits are very resistant because they were overtrained over the years. So if you want to change these mental habits and replace them with the new healthy mental habits, you need to train your mind every day for a certain time, for a certain period, at least for some months, in order to replace the old bad habits and to create new healthy habits. For this reason, you have to be you have to practice this exercise on a regular basis. Has a new healthy habit in your life, not just as you take medicine, but as you want to introduce in your life new mental habits. Not only when you practice mindfulness, but also every day in any moment of your life.
Yeah, it's a way of looking at life.
Yeah, it's a way of being. This
being.
is the best way to define mindfulness. It's a way of being. And in this way, we saw in many years that people improve so much.
And as therapists or people who look after other people, we should also be practitioners, because very often you find that there are people very committed to having a practice, and other people are only using mindfulness as an isolated technique in therapy. But if we don't embody this, and if we don't live our lives according to this way of being, it's very difficult to communicate it, to convince. It's not like convincing, but it's something that we as therapists can irradiate.
Yes.
So I think putting the stressor is very important.
Yes, because when you teach mindfulness, you are a model for the participants, for people who are who are trained in that moment. In order to be a good model, you have to embody the practice in yourself, embody all the mindfulness qualities in yourself. This is the best way to transmit these skills, these qualities to all the patients or participants in this training.
And if we reach the level of embodying that, then the therapy can be a silent therapy. You didn't have to say anything. There's something in you that it touches the other person. Like when you are sitting in front of master, sometimes it's the only presence, because it's a quality of presence. I think it's that quality of presence which is very important.
Definitely.
And my last question for you: do you think that it is possible to overcome suffering, especially for people who have been diagnosed with a severe OCD? Is it possible to overcome suffering? I know it's a very big question.
No, it's not a big question. I've always been convinced that all people affected by OCD can improve so much and can overcome this disorder if he's able to commit himself or herself in change, as I told you before, their mental habits. So the most important issue is commitment. It's not the severity of the disorder. In my experience, the commitment is the key.
It's what makes the difference.
Yeah. And in my experience, all people were really convinced and committed to create this change through mindfulness training, improve so much, and in many cases, they overcome OCD. We have many reports from them about their changes. So I'm convinced of that. The problem is motivations and commitment.
And commitment and perseverance as well.
Yes.
Because sometimes you may be very committed, but then you know that it takes time to change a bad habit and develop a new one. So perseverance is so important, and trust.
Yes. But trust you can develop trust when you are able at the beginning to commit yourself in a new path in order to change what is possible to change, but it needs training. Like you train every day your body in order to change your shape, your energy, everything in your body. You can train your mind in order to change your brain.
Yeah, there is no healing without self-knowledge. So mindfulness is a way of have self-knowledge, and I think this is a way also to overcome suffering.
Definitely.
But Fabrizio, it's been a great pleasure. Fabrizio is also a great inspiration for me. His work and his methodology, which I'm doing my best to apply that with the OCD Association here in Granada, because I've seen change in people who are committed. So I fully believe in the potential of mindfulness. With all the research that Fabrizio has done, that is a very well structured and developed program, which makes it very applicable and accessible. So it's such a wonderful gift. So thank you very much. And we hope to see you soon in Granada again.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.